Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something, well, something absolutely foundational for humanity's future off-world. Space botany. I mean, we talk a lot about rockets and habitats, but really, it all comes down to whether we can grow things, right? Food, air, life support. It really determines if these big interplanetary dreams can actually happen.
It really is the core issue. Without these closed-loop bioregenerative systems, basically, plant-based system, any long-term base on the moon or Mars just becomes impossibly heavy and expensive to resupply. We're really talking about biology as the ultimate engineering tool,
Wow.
giving us food, scrubbing CO2, making oxygen, recycling water. Plants do it all.
And what's really wild is how early people started thinking about this. It actually goes back way before human spaceflight. We think about astronauts, but the very first pioneers, they were seeds.
Plant seeds went up in 1946. That's what, 15 years before Yuri Gagarin?
Exactly. 15 years.
Scientists knew right away that space conditions the microgravity, sure, but especially that ionizing radiation could be really bad for living things. It could sterilize them, damage them fundamentally. So they needed a cheap, low-risk way to just see what happens.
Let's paint a picture of that first experiment. It's 1946, White Sands, New Mexico. And the rockets weren't, sleek NASA designs.
No, not at all. These were captured V-2 rockets, the ballistic missiles developed by the Nazis, which American scientists then got their hands on after the war.
And strapped onto these V2s.
Corn seeds, rye, cottonseed, even fungus spores. Basic stuff. And these flights took them past the Kármán line.
Right, the Kármán line. Just to remind everyone, that's the sort of accepted edge of space, about 100 kilometers up. It's where the air gets too thin for wings to work, basically. You need rockets.
It's the real boundary. And the results back then were pretty remarkable.
Yeah. What'd they find?
The seeds mostly survived. Despite the radiation and the microgravity. Once they got them back and planted them, okay, maybe germination was a bit delayed or the rates were a little lower.
But they grew.
But the vast majority were still viable. They grew. It was a huge proof of concept.
And that early success kind of set the stage for maybe the most famous example, the moon trees.
Ah, yes, the moon trees. That was much later, 1971, Apollo 14. NASA's third trip to the lunar surface.
And one of the astronauts actually carried seeds with him.
That's right, Stuart Roosa. He used to be a smoke jumper for the U.S. Forest Service. Interestingly enough, he took thousands of seeds.
What kinds?
Lovely pine, sycamore, sweet gum, redwood, Douglas fir. 5 different types.
And they kept some back on Earth as a control?
Yep, the Forest Service held onto a control batch. Good scientific practice, even back then. Compare the space seeds to the Earth seeds.
That's great. They were thinking about that. And the legacy of those trees is amazing. A lot of them were planted in '76 for the bicentennial ceremonies, right?
Exactly. And you can still find these moon trees or their descendants all over the country today. It showed that, yeah, plant life could handle the trip and still thrive back home.
Which obviously gives scientists confidence for pushing things even further now.
Definitely. That legacy continues.
So let's jump forward. Today, it's not just about if they survive, it's about testing their absolute limits. Like that barley test in 2021 on the ISS.
Right, the one involving the whiskey brand. Always gets a mention.
Yeah. But the science was serious.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What was key there is where they put the barley seeds. On the Materials International Space Station Experiment Platform, MISS-E.
Meaning outside.
Meaning outside, exposed to raw space. Full vacuum, crazy temperature swings, the works.
How crazy are we talking?
About 200 degrees Celsius difference every 90 minutes as the ISS goes from direct sunlight into Earth's shadow and back out again. Huge thermal shock.
Wow, 200 degrees. How does the seed even cope with that? Are they testing for like a hull breach scenario or something?
It's more about long-term storage and viability in really harsh environments. Think about seeds sitting on the surface of Mars or needing to survive a long transit. Seeds are amazing little survival pods. They go dormant, desiccate.
Dry out completely.
Pretty much. Metabolism basically stops. That makes them incredibly resistant to temperature extremes and radiation. So when those barley seeds came back,
they grew.
They germinated like nothing happened. Completely unfazed was the quote. That's a really important data point.
And, okay, we have to mention the fun part. Some seeds did go back to the distillery. Potential space whiskey.
Human priorities, right? But seriously, this kind of stress testing feeds directly into planning the menu for future habitats. Mars, long-duration missions.
And it's a limited menu, isn't it? Because bringing animals is just too difficult.
Way too difficult. Farm animals are huge, need lots of resources, produce lots of waste. Energetically, it's just too expensive for a closed system. So yeah, Meat's off the table for the pioneers, I'm afraid.
So all has to come from plants. What kind of plants work best when you've got limited space and need high density?
You're looking for things that give you a lot of yield in a small footprint. So tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, lots of leafy greens, staples like potatoes, specific varieties bred for efficiency, and protein sources are key.
Like what?
Soybeans are good candidates. Even things like duckweed, believe it or not. Super fast-growing, protein-rich. But it's not just about food calories.
Right. The sources really emphasize the medicinal angle, too. It's like a pharmacy and a grocery store combined.
Exactly. You need medicinal plants. People are looking at specific strains of tobacco, for instance, that are engineered to produce Herceptin, that's a breast cancer drug.
Wow.
Yeah. Plus traditional things like red sage, reishi mushrooms, even herbs we think of as just flavorings like mint and cilantro have valuable nutraceutical properties.
Because if you're on Mars, you can't just call for a delivery drone with a medicine.
No way. A resupply mission could take 9 months, maybe longer. You have to be self-sufficient completely.
And that need for self-sufficiency for a closed system, that leads straight into the biggest engineering challenges, doesn't it? How do you actually build this garden in space or on Mars?
It's all about the logistics. There's a great concept from Dr. Mike Dixon, an expert in these controlled environments. He calls it the pressure paradox.
Okay, what's the paradox? Is it about trying to mimic Earth's atmosphere?
Sort of. Your first thought might be, okay, Earth plants need Earth air, right? Standard atmospheric pressure, about 101 kilopascal.
Makes sense.
But trying to build and maintain a structure that holds 101 kPa on Mars or the Moon, the mass of the structure itself, the energy for pumps, preventing leaks, it's astronomically expensive. It could kill a mission budget before it starts.
Ah, okay. So that's not feasible.
But here's the amazing part, the breakthrough. Plants are way tougher than we thought. They can do everything we need: food, oxygen, water recycling, CO2 scrubbing at just 1/10 of Earth's pressure.
1/10.
Yeah, around 10 kilopascals total pressure. It completely changes the engineering requirements for habitats. Okay. Makes them lighter, simpler, cheaper.
What's the minimum recipe for them then, pressure-wise?
Yeah. It's roughly 7 kPa of oxygen, maybe 0.1 kPa of water vapor, and then some buffer gas like argon or nitrogen to make up the rest.
But wait, if plants are happy with 7 kPa of oxygen, humans need more than that, right? Like closer to 20 kPa.
Exactly. That's the crux of it. Our respiration rate is much higher than a plant's, especially when they're photosynthesizing under lights. So, Dr. Dixon's conclusion: it's not the plants limiting the habitat design. We are the weak link, the humans.
Huh. So we build the habitat around the plant's tolerance because they're our life support.
Precisely. We adapt to their optimal low-pressure environment because they make everything else possible.
Okay, so pressure is one huge challenge solved, potentially. What about gravity? Or the lack of it, especially on the Moon or Mars where you have some gravity, but not Earth normal.
Yeah, partial gravity is the real focus, even more than the ISS microgravity, because low Earth orbit can always be resupplied relatively easily. The Moon is 1/6 G, Mars is about 1/3. You need self-sufficiency there.
And what happens to plants in low gravity?
Well, things get weird. Roots don't know which way is down, so they can spread out everywhere. You use loose soil, it just floats away. And water. Water is a big problem.
How so?
It doesn't soak in like normal. Surface tension takes over, and water forms little spheres. It just beads up. So the roots can be surrounded by water droplets, but still unable to absorb them.
Yeah.
The plant experiences drought, even if there's plenty of water around.
Right, so you need to engineer solutions to mimic gravity's effects.
Exactly. Systems like Veggie on the ISS, the vegetable production system, it's about the size of a carry-on bag.
And it uses special pillows.
Yeah, plant pillows. Not soft, fluffy ones. They're like little contained units filled with a dense, clay-like soil mix and fertilizer.
Ah, so the clay holds the water.
Right. Through capillary action, it overcomes the surface tension beating effect and keeps water available to the roots, which are also physically contained. And then they use LED lights.
For photosynthesis, obviously.
Yes. But also to give the plant a sense of direction. The light tells it which way is up, so it grows correctly.
And then there's the APH, the Advanced Plant Habitat. That's even more sophisticated.
Yeah, APH is more automated, often controlled from Earth. It's used for more fundamental research, like studying lignin production in microgravity.
Lignin. That's like the structural part of the plant, like its bones.
Exactly, provides rigidity, and studying it is really important for that closed-loop system idea.
How does lignin affect the loop?
Well, if you want to recycle plant waste efficiently, compost it back into fertilizer, you want plants that break down easily.
Mm.
Less lignin means less rigid structure, which means faster, easier composting. So if we can understand how gravity affects lignin, maybe even modify plants to produce less of it in space, we make the whole life support cycle much more efficient. It's about optimizing that whole habitat economy.
Okay, so the engineering is complex but solvable. What about the human experience side, eating these space plants? Astronauts apparently crave strong flavors.
Yeah, that's a well-known effect.
Yeah.
In microgravity, fluids shift upwards in the body. It causes a kind of constant mild nasal congestion,
Like having a head cold all the time.
pretty much. And as you know, if your nose is stuffy, your sense of taste gets dulled, everything seems bland.
Which explains why that first space lettuce back in 2015 was described as bitter. But the astronauts didn't seem to mind.
Exactly. That lettuce was stressed, probably by the growing conditions, so it produced more lactic, those bitter defense chemicals.
But because their taste was dulled anyway.
The extra bitterness actually made it taste more interesting to them. A bit of a kick.
But the value of having these fresh plants? It goes way beyond just calories or even taste, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial for psychological health. We often underestimate how important connection to living green things is. Think about practices like Shinrin-yoku in Japan, forest bathing. Doctors literally prescribe time in nature for people feeling disconnected or stressed.
So, having a garden, even a tiny one, in a sterile space habitat could be incredibly therapeutic.
NASA certainly thinks so. They've noted how much fresh flowers and gardens mean to astronauts. It's a connection to Earth, something beautiful and alive in an otherwise harsh environment. It boosts morale, reduces stress. It's vital.
Like when they grew those zinnias on the station, the first flowers.
Yeah, 2016, Commander Scott Kelly's photo of them was amazing. He wrote, "Yes, there are other life forms in space." Just seeing those colorful blooms made a huge difference. It's that little piece of home.
And the science keeps pushing. We're not just growing in space, but potentially in alien soil.
That 2022 experiment using actual moon soil regolith from the Apollo missions was huge.
They grew plants in it.
They did. Arabidopsis, a type of cress often used in research. It grew in samples from Apollo 11, 12, and 17. Now, the plants show genetic signs of stress. The regolith is very fine, sharp, abrasive, not ideal.
But the fact they grew at all is significant.
Absolutely. And understanding why they were stressed helps us figure out how to modify plants or amend the soil, not just for the moon, but maybe for growing food in really poor, damaged soils right here on Earth. Think food deserts, contaminated land.
That's a great point. The Earth benefits too. And we should also mention China's achievement.
Yes, change of 4 in 2019. First plants actually germinated on the moon on the far side. Cotton, rapeseed potatoes, Arabidopsis again. It's happening. Biology in space is real.
Which brings us back kind of full circle to Dr. Dixon and that tension between pure necessity and human well-being.
And his famous rejected dream crop.
The roses. He initially argued for growing roses on the moon.
Purely for the psychological boost. Imagine, he argued, the cultural impact, the sheer romance of the first dozen roses from the moon.
And the science committee said,
Absolutely not. Way too high a cost in energy and mass for something you can't eat. Every gram counts up there. You can't justify purely aesthetic plants when survival is on the line.
But he found a way to get something for morale back on the list, didn't he?
He did. He apparently colluded, let's say, with another NASA scientist to get barley approved.
Based on
The potential for space whiskey and beer. He argued it met a fundamental human need, contributing to crew psychological health.
a bit cheeky, but it worked.
It really sums up the whole challenge, doesn't it? Survival needs ruthless efficiency, but long-term survival, living somewhere, needs that connection to humanity, to pleasure, to home.
That's the balance they're constantly trying to strike.
So the big takeaway here seems clear. Growing plants in space, it's hard. You need clever engineering for the gravity, the pressure, the nutrients, but it's definitely possible. And it's not just possible, it's essential. It's the key to humans actually living anywhere beyond Earth long-term. Totally agree. And all the knowledge we're gaining, low-pressure farming, dealing with extreme conditions, recycling, everything has direct applications back here, helping us grow food more sustainably in tough places on our own planet.
So we'll leave you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on. Imagine the constraints of energy and mass were suddenly lifted. You're on Mars. You have a crew depending on you for morale. Tying back to Dr. Dixon's roses. What single non-food plant would you choose to grow just for the crew's psychological well-being, and why that one?
Something to ponder until the next deep dive.